is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A very good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. Today at 10 minutes past 9 a.m. My name is Sharon Chondisha and thank you so much for always tuning in and being a part of the discussion. You can follow us on our social media platforms, and that's on Twitter mostly at UBC TV, and you can as well follow me on Twitter. That's at Sharon_Chomgis2, and for you to be a part of the conversation as usual from Monday to Thursday, and then we have a Pan-African morning on Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. Now, since 1986, when the NRM government took leadership in Uganda, a lot has been done to transform the socio-economic status of Ugandans through a number of seemingly good programs. Following the economic crisis in Uganda that was experienced at that time, it followed the advice given to it by the World Bank and IMF purposely to help adjust the country's economic structure, improve international competitiveness and restore its balance of payments. Now, resultantly, liberalization and privatization of the economy was made to prerequisite as to the advancement of structural adjustment loans. But with 70% of Ugandans living off agriculture, there have been some arguments on how farmers actually have been left behind. Many have argued that farmers have been forgotten and affected by one of the biggest reasons being the high borrowing rates, something that they believe should change and something that commercial banks do because they have to stay in business. But many argue that then why not come up with an establishment of an agriculture and cooperative bank in Uganda, which would save and make a difference in the farmers' lives. Today with me in studio is two gentlemen. One of them is Mr. Chiwewa Joel Julius, a guild president from the First Royal University, and Mr. Billy Clinton Nasasira, guild president, Mbara University Science and Technology. And we're going to get deeper into this conversation. A very good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You're welcome to UBC TV.
Thank you so much.
You can introduce yourselves to the guests.
The viewers of UBC, my name is His Excellency Chiwewa Joel Julius, the guild president, Mutesa the First Royal University, and a youth leader from Chotela district. I'm so delighted this morning to be here. This morning, and as we deliberate on matters concerning the farmers and matters pertaining establishment of the Agriculture and Cooperative Bank. Thank you.
Mr. Nasasira.
Good morning to the UBC viewers. My name is Billy Clinton Nasasira, Guild President, Mbara University of Science and Technology. And I'm also the District Youth Chairperson of Zimbabwe. So I'm so humbled being here today. Thank you so much.
Okay. What is exactly the problem that is seeking for an establishment of a cooperative bank and agriculture bank as the solution? I'll start with you, Nasasira.
Thank you. First and foremost, when we try to look at what is actually happening within the farmers, you see, Uganda can't develop when its own people are poor. Therefore, we must look for all ways, all possible means of having Ugandans, one, engage in production, number two, have income generating activities, therefore they can come into trade, say that the government is able to collect revenue. But among the programs that have been here, the different programs government has brought, it has not been so much key on the financial part of it. You can't just disburse money to a population that you have not trained how to use money. For example, I will start with, let's say, a Myoga or the parish development model. When people have not truly come together and it is an idea that is generated by themselves, to come together, do the saving, or come together, do a specific economic activity that joins them. Then from nowhere, you just give them money that please do this. Some will divert the money to do whatever they wanted to do. Somebody gets an agricultural loan, but ends up buying a border. Somebody gets an agricultural loan, ends up paying school fees. That is the worst mistake that is already happening. But if we can focus at one, how do we train farmers? How do we have banks that are truly knowing what is happening in the fields, what farmers are going through, go ahead to train them on the modern farming methods, and then somebody comes on board willingly to get a loan instead of just giving them and splashing money. It ends up being NRM money instead of becoming developmental money that would transform certain community. Thank you.
Mr. Chiwewa.
Thank you so much. Now, to me, I think with urgency or with need to set up or establish an agriculture and cooperative bank, this emanates from a matter where we have farmers, and we well know that we Ugandans, our backbone for the economy is agriculture. So for me, I believe, I do believe that if we very well know, and leaders very well know, that government and all the leaders at all stakes know that agriculture is the backbone of this mighty nation, there is need to establish an agriculture and cooperative bank, because you find government, after realizing that it had got or lost the touch connection to these, to the farmers and the down people, the citizens, it now embarked at establishing cooperative, or at establishing what should I call them, programs, like the financial programs like in Tandikwa. Then there is the parish development model. We have NADS, we have the Luwelo Triangle Fund, we have the Youth Livelihood Program, where they eject money to see that it can boost the living and transform the lives of the natives. But for me, what I believe, taking or looking at the commercial banks, it's absurd that commercial banks have a rate of 23 to 25% interest rate. So this gives fear to a farmer who is out there. They want to add on what they are making. This, gives them hurdles to come to borrow money from the commercial banks, because they fear, when you borrow money from the commercial banks and then you put a security, then if you fail to bring back the money in the time planned, men are arrested, men are dragged to courts. So a farmer who only has a small piece of land where he or she can practice the agriculture, I think has that fear to come to the bank, get a loan, and after some time he or she fails to repay due to the interest rates. But late in the days when we had the agriculture and cooperative banks, you find these banks knew the situations of farmers. They understood farmers more better than these commercial banks that we have right now. That farmers could borrow money and the interest rate would be 10%. And now they could also consider the grace period. They give you a loan, you're a farmer, and now you have maize plantation. They consider which is the period for the maize harvesting. So you're given that grace period from the time when you've planted to the time when you are harvesting. So banks knew, the agricultural banks knew, they understood farmers better back in the days, which is not as of now. The banks, the commercial banks we have as of now, they are only focused at making their profits, making interests, which is difficult for farmers of Uganda or for our mothers and fathers to repay back that money, meaning many Ugandans then will be dragged to courts and they will end up in prisons because they cannot bear the interest rates.
Do we have a number of Ugandans? Do you maybe have statistics on how many people have been dragged to court because of failing to pay their interest?
What I can say, in my home district, that's Chotela. In Chotela district, I've heard of many people being dragged to court, many ending up in prison because they cannot pay. They cannot afford paying. You find someone, now also dragging and giving an example, you find someone pays and now their security is their household. So someone on failure to pay the money back, you find 2 to 3 days there is a statement for sale, bank property, meaning if many Ugandans are going in such dilemma, they cannot afford the agriculture now because it has some technological advancements which need funding. And these Ugandans, again, cannot rely on any other activities, but agriculture is centrally and is prioritized for the economic growth of this nation. And
on that very note, you're talking about, Uganda is about 60 years and more.
Yeah.
And you talked about how we've had cooperatives and banks, something that you're trying to revive. What makes, why is this the best time once again to bring up such an idea? Because we have had that was sort of laid off. We have cooperatives, we have SACCOs, we have microfinances, companies that are helping out, and they have all these, people can borrow money, and even banks that you're talking about, commercial banks, they have products that are specifically designed for farmers, because at the back of their minds they understand that actually an average Ugandan, or most Ugandans, are farmers. 70% of our population lives on farming. So you mean for all these years, 60 years and something, and we've had people still successfully conduct their businesses, successfully become great farmers, they're able to export. Somehow this is the biggest issue for farmers? I'll go to Nasasida.
Why we are looking at this issue is because privatization of government property has become the order of the day here in the country. For example, we recently know what was happening in coffee, where we were having the coffee cooperative society being given out. And I will also give you an example. Look at the Uganda House that was constructed some good number of years back. And so many other enterprises that Uganda has been giving out to private sector. Look at the many programs that have been on, the Ntandikwa, the Myoga, and so on. They have not succeeded as they were truly drafted on paper. So why we are coming up with an idea and why students are saying, no, look, when we are talking of banks, it's not that we are developing a bank within Kampala and it is staying in Kampala. Back in villages, actually women would always organize themselves into SACCOs. Where they,
which is still ongoing?
Which is still ongoing.
And encouraged?
And encouraged. But the point is, where is government when it comes to such? Because if a small group can come together, have their money, keep it somewhere, or even take their money to a commercial bank, but are able to carry out agriculture at a small scale. You see, in other European countries, by the way, people pay high rates of taxes. But somebody pays...
Which equates to even the whether it's health system or the roads and infrastructure, you see where the taxes go.
Good. Mm-hmm. Somebody is sure that I'm paying a tax of, let's say, 40–50%, but I'm sure my child is going to go to school. I'm sure when I access the health facilities, I'm going to get treatment. Mm-hmm. But here, Ugandans are paying taxes, and at the same time, as Uganda says, agriculture is our backbone, we are not having commercialized banks that are truly looking at the local farmer. Even the government programs that are coming, money is benefiting specific people, actually the leaders of such programs. So why we are saying that let such monies go into banks, it's a point of having supervision of these monies. It's a point of saying, no, look, instead of just splashing money, you can see in Uganda we only have one school that trains in cooperatives, and that is the Cooperative School of Kigumba. It started in, was it 1967, 1964? Even the one of Tanzania, it has the Moshi University of Cooperatives, it's now a university. The Cooperative University of Kenya is now a university offering bachelors, but here in Uganda, the Cooperative School of Kigumba is still at diploma level. Okay, look at the parish development model. What is the qualification of a parish chief? For them to hold 100 million, for them to hold 200 million. Somebody is having a diploma in social development, but you are giving such a person to manage millions of monies. And by the way, you have not trained them. So what do you expect at the end of the day?
But there was training. There was training. I want to believe by the time government takes out grants or applies for grants, by the time money is approved to go out to carry out a certain activity or take over a certain project to have end results, great end results for Ugandans, I believe it has gone through all the motions and it has been found qualified. I mean, it has been it has become the best that they believe that the monies will do exactly what it is supposed to do. So even when we look at programs like Entandikwa Scheme, Plan for Modernization of Agro, Poverty Eradication Program, Bonaba Gagawale, now we're at PDM and MUGAN, all. You mean all these have sort of failed to look at the farmer or someone down there to actually improve their livelihood?
You see, we should, while we are discussing these programs, when you look at their paperwork, the paperwork is quality good. The presentation at parliamentary level is quality good. But the question is, where does it go wrong?
So where does it go wrong?
From when you now disperse this money, you've seen how many chief administrative officers just on this parish development model that have been imprisoned. While we are talking of banks, it is a center of collection and a way of managing finances.
There's a structure.
There is a structure. Okay. We have built a structure. We are not trusting our monies to specific individuals. So we go wrong when you hold all government money and is entrusted to specific individuals. But if we have cooperative banks, if we have agricultural banks within districts, within sub-counties or even parishes, a farmer will initiate their transaction process by coming to ask for the loan. Like, it is them feeling that they need the loan to start up something. Then other processes continue. Somebody carries out actual farming. But when you say, now youth, borders make a circle from nowhere, you train them. One, somebody did not have reality with one another. But because they are told that they are going to receive money, and they can only receive money because they're a group of borders, they're going to come together and get this money. But repaying money becomes a problem. But if these borders, or if somebody feels that I actually need some money to go and do farming, or I actually need some money. Last time we were discussing, as students, we were discussing the graduate fund. If somebody is done with education, how can government engage them in production? For example, have a fund that you set aside. Say that if I'm a graduate, the best I have is an academic transcript. So let me offer that as security and get a certain amount of money to start business. But you see, it can only be effective through banks, not specifically commercialized banks. Because each time you make it so much private, the interests are high. The security is high. Students cannot afford. Farmers cannot afford. You can't get a loan that is at 20% per month. It is quite tricky.
With farming, you have 2 seasons.
Yes.
In a year. When we have this discussion, it's more of the government should intervene like this. There should be less, the borrowing rates should be lower. Think about the farmer. What is the responsibility of then the farmer in this case?
The responsibility of the farmer is one. You see, government has got many structures. For example, you have community development officers. And their aim is to always develop these communities. They look at these people develop. They look at these farmers carry out their activities of farming. They know the seasons. They keep encouraging them. So the responsibility of the farmer is one, have you set aside land where you're going to do your farming from? Have you engaged in many trainings in regard to modern farming? Are you following up with the seasons? Then are you ready to do the activity? Now, that is work that is done by community development officers. But now these people are being overburdened. They have a work to mentor these local farmers, and then you're also giving them a burden of handling these monies. Are we together? Mm-hmm. For example, I'll give you the youth livelihood program, where we saw community development officers engaging with youth to form circles, and then when they get money, a certain portion goes to the community development officer, which was wrong. But if you engage these farmers, train them as a community development officer, because that is a government structure. You are getting salary. So when you train these farmers, a farmer feels they are now ready, it's a specific season, then they go for the loan in the bank, where the bank can also come on board to look at how you're going to do your farming.
Mr. Chiwewa, when you look at, when we're talking about the bank, that you guys are proposing as a solution to many of these issues that farmers are facing, I am just wondering then, you cannot enter, for any business, even for the farmers, they never want to think about losses, right? But you have 2 seasons, and sometimes now things are unpredictable. Actually, you might plant and then somehow you just make a whole loss. But at the end of the day, even if the bank is existing or it actually is created like you're saying, you will have to make it run, right? And you need them to pay back whatever they've taken. You need that bank to run from the monies that come back from these farmers. So what is going to happen if you're more lenient and you're more thoughtful about the farmers, but then somehow the bank is constituted of farmers? Those are your customers, that's your target group, right? But then at the end of the day, with them, maybe there are losses made, maybe the season didn't work out well for them. How are you going to sustain that? Where's the sustainability in that? Because it's entirely just a farmer's bank. Mr. Chiwewa.
Now, for me, I would think after farmers have been given or have access to these loans, if they happen to establish the Agriculture and Cooperative Bank, I do think, just as commercial banks have structures and policies, terms and conditions, for you to collect monies or to get a loan from their bank, you have to first abide by their terms and conditions for the loan. I don't think now, basing myself or referring myself to the terms and conditions of the commercial banks, just as I said before, you find the interest rate is at 23 to 25%, right? But also referring to the previous agriculture and cooperative banks that were there before, you find the interest rate was at 10%. It's easy for a farmer to have compensation of a loss at their agriculture, at their gardens for their crops in any season, to pay a 10% interest rate than paying a 23 to 25% interest rate of a commercial bank.
10% might be good for the interest rate, you've put it down. But now if they never, for example, let's say maybe in Bali, because you said it wouldn't be just established in Kampala, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at maybe even having branches
Just as
or
commercial
something,
banks.
yes,
Yeah.
just like commercial banks. In Bali, then there's a flood. And then most of your farmers or most of your target group customers end up losing all their crops and all.
Now, here, I would also think of, there are, crop insurances for farmers insurances. You find in some countries, there is some insurance that targets farmers. Meaning, if a farmer is educated on how to go by this insurance and they are brought forward to appreciate the insurance policies that go in line with the farming or agriculture. A farmer here, after accepting and subscribing to the policy, then there would be some compensation, just as recent in the parish development model. I'm also a member who monitors in Masaka at the parish development model. I'm a member, a SACCO member. So as we were being trained last time, in the previous week, they told us the president of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, said, for in case of any loss of the farmers at their gardens and these supervisors notice it was a loss not intended, but due to some other factors, you find the crops, all the pigs have died of abruptly. Mosei, he said that he shall have 50% compensated by the government to the farmers, and now the farmer will have to pay the financial obligation of 50% to compensate for the money. Basing myself on the 6% of the loan that you will have gotten from the parish development fund in your circle.
In any way, does that even increase our production as a country? As I said?
To me, I wanted to first enlighten more, and then I get to that. You see, we are talking of government money. And government money, this is revenue collected from people. So in other words, government is trying to have as many people as possible, as many Ugandans as possible into production. Even if it wasn't the agricultural ones, if floods happen in Mbale, in Kasese, the Ministry of Disaster has always gone there to see how they compensate these people. But the point is, you see, each time we draft ideas, depending on how the loss is going to be, then we are losing it out. But the point is, if we have such cooperatives, such circles, where government keeps ejecting money, and people are able to access this money at
But we have existing cooperatives and circles.
Those ones have been created by parish development model.
Yes.
Yes. Now, why we are saying that it is fading, it's just because of it is centered on personalities. Are we together? That is what we harmonized on. Or if we can now utilize the point in time that we have now, these existing circles. But how can we transform these circles into financial discipline? Are we together? The point is financial discipline, such that people are able to access money to do farming at a low interest rate. And money is not being used by government officials. Somebody withdraws money without even the consent of what it is, or without the consent of the people of that specific parish.
Does that mean that if we actually went back to grassroots and corrected the wrong things, you talk about training as one of the main problems, you talk about individuals thinking they own these monies, you go back and correct and structure, which is a big aspect of the bank, you know. So you structure these circles, or you, whatever you put on paper, you decide to implement. Do we still then need an agriculture and cooperatives bank in Uganda?
Because why we are talking of agriculture and cooperative bank, it is more of these small circles that I told you that are in communities. If we have already, for example, we have Post Bank, that you know, it has
Government
almost
bank
60 branches. A point in time. Let us have a way farmers are incorporated into these financial systems. For example, let us have agricultural loans that are truly targeting farmers. Somebody is aware of the seasons. Somebody looks at the capacity they produce. If somebody gets a problem, then we are ready to write off certain loans. But if we only leave it to private sector, let's say a farmer gets a loan from a commercial bank, then at the end they lose it out because of drought. These commercial banks end up taking their property. And
that's what we're saying, that regardless, so if you wake up and then the Agriculture and Cooperatives Bank is in Uganda is established, how are you going to sort of maintain, because you're talking about signing off loans if there's a drought or something, how are you then going to keep on having funds? You're talking about also government money, but we've seen certain ministries or certain departments or miss out on certain funds because we have to have a shared budget and you just have a little for that ministry or to do certain things. So in a bank, you need a continuous flow of money. So if you're going to sign off loans, if you're going to, oh, there's a drought and then things are just put out of the way, how is that going to continue the running of the bank? You see? So aren't you also then going to diversify and make sure that it's not just an agricultural bank? Or maybe isn't that even the reason as to why we failed to have an agricultural bank till to date?
I explained to you from the start that the way government is dispersing this money, it's more of NRM money. Are you together? It's a way of mobilizing people to come and actually do the casting of votes, which is wrong. We are talking of financial literacy. That's why we even talked about the qualifications and so on. Who is managing this money? How is this system being managed? So each time we have now government injecting money into these circles, then we have the head officers where an individual comes and asks a loan, is monitored. Why do you need money? What are you going to do? How best have you been trained? See, this is how commercial banks survive. It's not a point of only telling people, gather up, come and pick money. But farmers are aware maybe there is money in this circle that is being put by government. Therefore, if I'm ready, I have land, I'm trained, I know what I'm going to do, let me go and pick the money, then I'm advised.
I think I'm still not getting my answer for my question, but moving on from that, the other problem has also become that I think you've seen some of our exports being denied or countries even sending it back because they feel like our quality of product has issues. And then we're talking about farmers here because they are our target customers in case there's an establishment of the Agriculture and Cooperatives Bank. So quality of produce is also a big issue. What do you have to say about that? And how would this bank maybe actually help and enable them make more produce? So we have high quantity, but then we also have very good quality.
having high quantity of produce is when we have many people or a large number of population come into production. That is how we can have lots of agricultural products on market. And then how do we have quality is how do you train these farmers to do the farming? How do you train farmers to come into modernized farming? For example, you've seen NRM have, is it 4-acre model, 1-acre model? To me, it's one way of modernizing farming and telling them, you see, yes, you have a small piece of land, but how do you produce? How do you use this land effectively? How do you have much produce from a small piece of land? So to me is, if we continuously engage farmers in trainings and they are aware that farming is now shifting to modernized mechanisms of farming, and this is the standard quality. We, for example, maize, we are concentrating on such and such a breed or such and such a brand. Are we together? We have seen government give out seeds and so on. That is, we are trying to look at quality. But the way things are done is what makes everything go back to a mess. For example, you are given seeds and you end up only distributing it to your family members.
No.
That is where everything goes wrong. Even on the money issue, we are looking at the circles, but the management and the system through which this money goes through is the problem.
For me, now, to me, I would think our products being denied from the borders to be exported, I think it comes as a result of lack of, I appreciate that many farmers in Uganda have at least appreciated the technological advancement. But dragging myself to a view of coffee, the coffee producers, and maybe the maize producers, our farmers down there, many of them would like also to add on their production. But they believe they need some machines, maybe, to add on what they are producing. But again, this drags us back to the commercial interest rates, commercial banks. You find my father down in the village may like to add on coffee. You see? I was once listening to the address of Mosei, and I saw one of the heads in the coffee cooperative, is it explaining on how coffee has been degraded in Uganda. You find, what are they called? Seeds, the coffee seeds. Here, they are being bought by foreigners at a lower rate or at low incomes. But to them, when they take them, they add on they add on.
There's value addition.
Yeah, there is value addition, and now you find a bag or a tin of cappuccino being brought back to Uganda, and you find a Ugandan buys it or purchases it in a supermarket at 45. You see, meaning also our farmers would like or would love to add value on their produces, but they again have that fear of getting loans from these commercial banks due to the high rates, interest rates, to buy or to purchase machines that can add on value. But with establishment of the Agriculture and Cooperative Bank, I think since this will be farmer-centered, or it will have its way to cater for the farmers, a farmer can be considered, as my brother here said, looking at what you have at the garden, maybe maize, how many acres of of maize plantations you have, you know, they supervise, they know. Now, you need a machine to add on the value. But now, if you need 4 million, and now you need 4 million maybe to buy a grinder of maize. But again, you have a maize plantation, half an acre, meaning it will not be corresponding to what you need. I think this goes back to the terms and conditions or policies that will be drafted again or revised by the establishment of the Agriculture and Cooperative Bank, whereby farmers will be able actually to get this money at low interest rates, and they will be motivated to add on their produces for them to be at least to be recognized at the international market.
Interesting. In case this goes through and we have an agriculture and cooperatives bank, paint me a picture of how that looks like. Nasasir.
If such an idea goes through, one, I'm looking at such cooperatives at, let's say, parish level, where Ugandans or trained staff truly go on ground. One, to look at who is this person taking this loan? What are they truly going to do? Is it the season? Do they deserve the money? Then number two, if they get money, how is their farming being practiced? You continue monitoring. Then if there are new skills that are coming up in farming, you continue advising your farmers. You see, it becomes people-centered, and people are developing at the same rate, but with a low interest. Then number two, for example, I'll give you, farming is not only crop production. We are also looking at cattle keeping and so on. Example, if there is an outbreak of a disease, how do you advise such a farmer who wanted to take up an agricultural loan that please, you're not going to succeed because there is such and such an outbreak, markets are closed. Therefore, how do we go about it such that this money, this government money, gains value? Then number two, when more Ugandans come on board and are able to do production, then the country is going to get more revenue. It's like these Airtel and MTN companies. They gain when you transfer your money from cash to digital. But when you have your money in cash, they are not gaining much. So if Uganda wants to gain, let us have more population come into production. Let us have more people engage into farming by you giving them an opportunity of accessing loans. By the way, this is how money lenders are surviving. Can you believe that somebody can give you money at 20% per month? And many Ugandans are going for such. Why? It's because we have failed to access these monies at
low
affordable rates. And somebody is losing property. So
security.
That would be my framework, what I would truly expect. We have a financial system where government money is not wasted. But we also have people on ground to keep monitoring, give aid to community development officers. In terms of finance, the community development officers can advise on other ways, how do you develop and so on. But when it comes to money, somebody wants to get a loan, somebody wants government money, how do the financial literate people come on board to advise on what to do?
Okay. How do you think is the best way to achieve this? Through public-private partnership, entirely government, entirely private?
It's two-way.
Joint venture?
Because we are looking at this in form of a mixed economy, how do private sector continue with their banking, but how do we also have government on board, say that it is 50-50, not entirely private sector? That would be my point.
Okay. Anything?
Talking of how this can be achievable, for me, back to the point that my brother discussed, I think if I'm not out of my mind, the government budget is of about 48 trillion. That's all. So now here you find due to failure or due to because we have a small number or a few number of farmers or Ugandans being engaged in production, you find now that also the taxes that are accumulated from the businesses and from the Ugandans, from the businesses extracted or executed by the Ugandans are fewer. And now this drags government to go for loans. If not donations, then it's loans. Because we have now 70 trillion being our loan as of now. Uganda getting money from foreign or from the other countries like China and all that. But if government can at least embark at establishment of this bank, the agriculture bank, I think it would be some good move that the 50% being 24 trillion of the budget of Uganda that has been gotten from donations and from loans, of which we shall have to pay back. If not today, we shall have to pay maybe some years to come. This will keep the inconsistency of our economy, because you mind of Uganda sustaining its economy, which we have very many demands, and government has so many issues and tasks to uphold. But now that Uganda is not living today and the economy keeps in such structure, we shall have to keep on going for donations and loans always. Meaning the loan scheme or the loan structure will now accumulate from the 70% trillion that we have as of now.
70 trillion?
Yeah, to some other amounts that we might not even handle in future. But if at least you can mobilize these farmers or Ugandans, bring them on board, educate them, give them that financial knowledge, how to handle the money. Because I believe also for the parish development model, I do appreciate, to me, it's working out. It has just started, it's at its initial stages, but at least it's perfect to me. But again, there are some members within the parish development model. You find they don't know how to handle this money. And if it's not money, because I may have an idea as me to go for poultry, but I may not have the knowledge. But I know each chick from let's say Yuga chick it costs maybe 4,900. Then I will go for that money. I will budget, because that's the requirement from the parish development model. I will budget, and I will take there. Many members will second me because they are my friends, so they will endorse me to get the money. I will get the money, buy the chicks, buy the food, but I'm advised just by mere community members who might be my neighbors or family members. Meaning this will, because I'm not trained by trained personnel or experts, I will fail to monitor and gauge my business of poultry, which brings which loosens the production levels. You find with knowledge of an expert, I would have produced a hen or broiler of 5 kilograms, but because I just did it by a sake that I have to take back the money of the 6% in a year, because that's the interest rate. I will then produce a hen of a broiler of 2 or 3 kilograms, taking it that now it will have reduced it will have reduced, you know, its levels, the levels of production will have reduced, meaning taking it to a point when the community members here are trained well, they can embark at their businesses or at their the businesses activities they specialize in, be it poultry, be it farming, be it cattle rearing, and you will find with the knowledge and advice from these trained expertise, they will have to grow up, and this money will be summed up and people will have will be now good producers.
Thank you, Mr. Chiro. I think because of time, we have to come to the end of the show. I'll just have parting remarks in just 30 seconds. I'll start with you. 30 seconds, please, and then Nasasir, and then we close the show.
Thank you so much to all the viewers of UBC. Once again, my name is His Excellency Chiwewa Joel Julius, the Guild President of Mutesa, the First Royal University. I'm so delighted, Madam Sharon, for hosting me here. And I think to a remarks, I would call upon government to intervene for establishment of the Agriculture and Cooperative Bank. Yeah, and to all the viewers there, colleagues of MRAU, the administration, and wherever, all the people watching worldwide, because this is a national TV. I do appreciate and keep broadcasting. We know by this and the support of the student leaders, we shall achieve.
Thank you. Nasasir?
Thank you so much. Just to summarize, I'll just give you an example of the two forms.
In 30 seconds.
Yes, in 30 seconds. We have the Youth Livelihood Program and so many others, and then the Capital Venture Fund that is always in commercial banks. The Capital Venture Fund has been almost a success because it has been managed by financial literacy. And the other programs have lost out because of financial literacy. So we are telling government, please, let us have another way of having money being managed by financial literate people. Allow me to thank the viewers, and I also thank all the Ugandan students watching us, plus colleagues and comrades from Barra University of Science and Technology. Thank you so much. We still push that government should admit, and Parliament should also admit, that we have this come to success. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. That was Mr. Nasasir Clinton, Bill Clinton, Guild President, Mbarara University Science and Technology, with Mr. Chiwewa Joel Julius, Guild President, Mutesa, the First Royal University, discussing and actually advocating for the establishment of an agriculture and cooperative bank in Uganda to cater to the 70% of Ugandans who are living off agriculture, but also financial literacy being a big aspect that with this can be a success. Thank you so much for watching. Good morning, Uganda Extra. My name is Sharon Chomdesha. Have a lovely day and God bless. Bye-bye.